Hey everybody, Derek here. I'm here to bring you an exciting, amazing video for my Walking Dead channel. Walking Dead has released the trailer for Season 6. I just saw it. It was from the Walking Dead Turkish. I guess there might be a Comic-Con going on in Turkey, something like that, but no matter what, I've seen the trailer. Many other people may have seen it, and I'm basically going to be doing a review on it. This video will be explaining, what happened in the trailer, a lot of the scenes, a couple of predictions. I don't want to go too in depth into some things because I want to have videos for later, but this is a big video, folks. If you do not want to be spoiled in any way, do not watch this video because it contains major spoilers. I will not be showing any footage or pictures yet. They will come in time. The image was not perfect as it was, shot from a video camera. So I don't really have the best footage right now or clips or pictures to show you. So this is just a review. But in case you do not want to be spoiled, do not watch the video because you will be spoiled. Okay. So again, I'm going to be talking about a lot of the different things that we were seeing here. The very first image right off the bat is actually Enid. The gates open and you see Enid. Now, Enid is in different clothing. She's wearing like this red jacket, brownish, dirty clothing underneath her. She looks dirty. I mean, her face has dirt on it. I think that this is clearly a flashback. We have seen and heard about footage from The Walking Dead that she was shooting footage with 2 adults. I think that those are her parents, as I said in my previous video. I think this is the flashback. I mean, this is part of the scene, the first time she arrives at Alexandria. We also, later on down the trailer, seem to see this image of Enid inside of a vehicle. It was like a red truck SUV with a white stripe down it, I think, something like that. And she's looking out the window, and the window is blood splattered. So I think that this may be the time where her parents do die, that she may have had to watch them get eaten by walkers. That's a possibility, but we'll definitely see and see if there's more to come about that. Now, overall, one of the big themes of the trailer is really about Rick trying to get Alexandria, in a sense, whipped into shape, or, get them to be a tough fighting army with a chance to survive. Because there's a lot of different threats coming right now. A lot of this trailer deals with a lot of walkers. I mean, there are tons of walkers. Thousands, if I had to make my best guess. And there are just various images of walkers walking down streets. There's various different images of various different people killing walkers. It appears that, the walker army from the comics that a lot of us, read and saw is here. And they are outside the walls, and they at any moment could break them down and completely take over Alexandria. You hear Rick saying, like, there were a bunch of voiceovers, and one of them goes, they just don't get it. They can't. And I think that, this takes place probably very soon after Pete dies. You see another image of Rick basically looking at a map. I think it's that night, because it's night. His hand and his face were a little bloody, so that might be from the shooting Pete. Then you see Rick, Daryl, and Morgan sitting in a room. So this is probably that same night. And Rick looks at Morgan and basically says, I don't take chances anymore. And I believe that Morgan says back to him, and you shouldn't. He may have said should, but again, the audio was a little off. So I'll get back to you on that if it was should. Because obviously we see that, Morgan coming in is going to have a very big impact on this group. And the fact that these two have even reunited is a big moment. And it seems that Morgan is really involved. And you'll see this later on in the trailer. But again, watch the trailer if you want to actually see all of the scenes. But, we see that there are a lot of walkers. Rick fires a shot in the air behind the walls. You see the walkers, pushing up against it. So there is a lot of problems going on, it seems. Whether those walkers came because the shot that was fired into Pete's head, I'm not sure, but they're there. Now, we also see a scene where the group, everybody in Alexandria, seems to meet in Deanna's group. And, Rick basically tells them that they'll make this work. He says, we'll make this work. We'll keep this place safe. We'll keep our families safe. So he's basically, in a sense, almost asserting, that he has this great plan. He knows of ways to keep Alexandria safe, and Rick is in a sense seeming to take control of the community. And there's this one guy, and I don't know who he is, but there's two predictions that I had about that, and I'll share them. One of them is that it may be Delvin. They were talking about a character, another guy that was coming into the show, and they described him as kind of like a guy who was, questioning, that would stand up for himself, things like that. It also might be that this is a guy named Kirk. They were talking about casting an individual named Kirk and a wife named Hilda into the show. Now, these characters are not comic book characters, but in a sense, maybe what this guy is personifying is maybe, several individuals who in the comics did dissent, and not agree with Rick's, taking over right away. Because this guy stands up and says, oh, so we're all just supposed to fall in line behind you? Like, he doesn't want to necessarily take orders. And we assume that this was going to happen. It's pretty clear that Rick is not going to just step up, take control, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. No, it's not. And I think that it is going to be an uphill battle. And we see various scenes where different individuals, like we see a scene where Abraham, Michonne, Sasha, Glenn, Rick, and Daryl, basically you see various different images of them killing walkers. And at one point, they're yelling out like, help us out, get here. I think what's going on here is that they're using, the area around them to basically help train these people, to help them become a fighting force. Because I think that, with the walkers coming, everybody is going to need to be able to fight, unless they want the walkers to come over the walls and kill everybody. And it's clear that Rick wants to be able to train these people because they don't know how to, handle themselves. Really, Aiden was kind of the only person, and Nicholas kinda, who seemed to know what they were doing. And of course, Aiden's dead, and Nicholas, we get that point. But we do see Nicholas in this trailer, and he actually seems to be following along with what's going on. Him and Glenn are actually killing walkers together at one point in the trailer. They're shooting them, they're stabbing them. This really seems to be like a big battle going on. And there are various scenes of them, like it seems, of individuals in the community outside the walls, at various different places out in the DC area. So there was this department store. There were various different places where these groups were, basically coming into contact with walkers and killing them. So there really is a lot going on here. There's also an image of somebody that was running away, like it was like a wooded area. There's a person running, and it looked like they were running from walkers, and then all of a sudden they're tackled from the side. It was too far back. I don't know who that is. Could be Rick tackling somebody to keep them safe. It could be somebody totally random. Could be the wolves. We don't know yet. But we see various different things going on. We also see Rick basically bringing a semi-truck into the area. He's standing on top of it, and he says, we're doing this now. And the same guy who, basically questioned Rick at the house says, we're not ready. But Rick doesn't listen. He says, no, let's do this now. There are a couple of ideas I had there. One being that maybe this is a way to kind of like block some of the walkers to slow their path, because they may not be smart enough to, go under it. They may go around it, and they obviously can't push it over. So this may be that they are, going to use it to slow the walkers down, and this may be Rick training people again. Or it might be that they're going to blow it up, to potentially blow up a bunch of walkers and get rid of them, because there are a lot of them. Again, like I said, thousands. Now, another thing that we see is that Rick's training does not necessarily seem to be going well. There are at least 2 people who are eaten by walkers in this trailer. One of them is a woman. I've never seen her before. She has brown hair, and she's just basically on the ground, and they're devouring her. So she's dead. This may be Hilda, Kirk's wife. It may not be. We don't really know, but it's somebody from Alexandria, and apparently she's dead. Then you see another person. It's a man. He's pressed up against the fence, basically that gated part, and you can see him being eaten. I have a prediction of who this might be, and I think this might be Bruce. you know, from the comics. Bruce was one of the people that was on the construction crew, and he basically gets bitten during this time in the story, and Abraham ends up having to put him down because he was bit in the neck. I think this might be him. It looks kind of like him. His face is, you know, shielded by the bar, but you can kind of see he is a guy, and I think it's him. I'm pretty sure. But no matter what, it is somebody else from Alexandria, and you see like the same guy. You hear a voice over him, and he says, "How many more of us have to die before we do something?" So apparently, there are several people that have died as a result of all of these walkers, and potentially they're, you know, these people are blaming Rick for putting them in danger. So obviously there's going to be a lot of tension going on between everybody. And you see other people who are kind of dissenting from Rick. I believe it's Spencer. It was Deanna's son. He literally looks at her, Deanna, and says, "Rick is dangerous." You know, and Deanna doesn't say anything, but you know, you see, you know, people not agreeing with Rick, and Rick, you know, really questioning, you know, what can happen and are they going to succeed, because he says these people, they got to take care of themselves. And I think that he stands by that. You know, he really does. We also see another scene where Glenn and Heath, that we do see the first images of Heath, played by Corey Hawkins. They're supporting a larger man. He was bald, African American. If you watch my video on Heath, you'll see a picture of this guy, and I think this is who it is. I think it's Scott. But I suggest you watch my video if you want more insight into who Scott is and his role in the comics. You know, we see basically another scene where Rick and Daryl are, you know, basically talking, and Rick asks Daryl if he feels differently about it, and Daryl says, "Yeah, I do." And they're standing next to Daryl's motorcycle, and they're in the community when they're talking. So this may be a good point later on. But something happens to Daryl, but I'll get to that in just a second. But it definitely caught my eye as I was, you know, watching this. A lot of other things are going on too. You know, Morgan has a lot of voiceovers too. And you know how we saw in the promo picture, you know, the very first poster for season 6, how Rick and Morgan seem to have been facing off against each other? The dialogue almost seems to say that. You know, there's a part where Morgan says, "I know Rick. I can stop him. We have to." And he seems to be standing, you know, on a porch in Alexandria, and I think that Deanna was standing there along with a couple of other people. So maybe Spencer is there. You know, we didn't really get to see everybody. And again, this may have been said somewhere else. You know, we don't really know. We know that the Walking Dead trailers have been known to trick us. So I'll discuss that in another video, but you know, it may not necessarily be set in stone what's going on. Then there's another scene where Glenn is talking to Maggie, and Glenn says people are scared, and then he says you should keep an eye on her, and then it pans over to Carol. You know, this makes me wonder, you know, did maybe somebody find out what she did to Sam? You know, or is this just a you know, a miscue? Is this actually talking about Deanna? Is it talking about Jesse? Is it talking about somebody else? I'll discuss that later, but it could just be you know, one of the tricks, or it could be that, you know, people have got their eye on Carol. And then we also see Carol, you know, standing outside, and she says she's in charge, probably meaning Deanna, and then she says, "But you're in charge now." And it pans to both Rick, and then it pans to Morgan. So it may be, you know, we don't really know who's in charge. You know, maybe Morgan is in charge, because Morgan really seems to be getting to know people in Alexandria. He really becomes a prominent person. He's talking to Deanna, and he says the following thing. He says, "The world isn't what you thought it was. You don't know what you are anymore, but you still know your way." So it seems again that Morgan really has a philosophy behind him that he really seems to be sticking with, and I'm interested to see exactly what happens, you know, and what more there is to his character. We also see an image of Carl walking by in Alexandria. He sees Enid, and Enid is hugging somebody. I'm assuming that is Ron. You know, it's not Carl, obviously. And you see that, you know, the stare that they share isn't exactly, you know, like a good one. You know, maybe Enid is upset at Rick for, you know, killing Pete. You know, the fact that Ron's upset, you know, she may really do have feelings for Ron. And that there might be conflict there. But I think that's what was going on there. Then Jesse also has a big part. She says, this is what life looks like now. We have to fight it, because if we don't, we die. And I think that this is really, you know, Jesse finally maybe accepting a little more of the harsh reality. In the comics, Jesse actually, you know, after a while, she's able to calm down, realizes that it's a good thing that Pete died because of what he was doing and the way that he was putting her down. In a sense, this may be Jesse really, you know, trying to get support for Rick. You know, even though we have the poster with people on different sides, that doesn't mean that they can't come together. And that also doesn't mean that people won't swap sides. Very, very possible. So, you know, I think that we're going to see people, you know, giving various support at different times. I think there is going to be a point where the walkers do invade Alexandria. Michonne at one point is standing behind a window that's been boarded over, and she says, they're coming. And there's walkers on the other side. We also see an image of Jesse and Sam hiding in a closet and Jesse holding a gun. Now, this may be walkers. This may also be the wolves, or somebody else. There was a scene that happens later on where somebody that looks like they have a coat on, it's like this darker, it looks like a raincoat, is running down like the street of Alexandria shooting, and it looks like people. So we may see some kind of a conflict with the wolves, but there really wasn't any wolves present in the trailer. Nobody with the W on their forehead. So I think that there is, you know, some things going on here that we really don't know too much about yet. But I think that there's more going on than just walkers, and I wouldn't be surprised if the wolves are involved in some way. Then we see a scene where Deanna says he's been out there, he's faced it, we are going to trust him, all of us. And then she's talking to individuals in her house, and then it pans to Morgan. But honestly, I think that that is her supporting Rick. I think that Deanna will be in more of a supportive position for Rick. It seems that way, but that there may be, you know, an opportunity where she may actually, you know, not be in support based on things that happen. So we'll see what happens down the road. You know, we see other scenes of, again, just individuals shooting at different walkers. We see a scene where Morgan is talking. It seems like he's talking to Rick, but he may not be because it pans in different directions. And Morgan says the following. He says, if you're choosing this life, you will die. You know, maybe referring to, you know, this type of terrible life, you know, immoral decisions. And then later, Morgan says, you get the heck out of here and you don't ever come back. So, you know, I don't think he's necessarily kicking anybody out. There may be more to that sentence, you know, because there really doesn't seem to be a lot going on, you know, in regards to people separating until this one moment, which I'm almost there. There's another scene where Rick is basically holding a gun on somebody, and he says, you really think you're going to take this community from us? From Daryl, Michonne, Glenn? And then you see all of those characters killing walkers, and Rick then says, from me? He says, do you have any idea who you're talking to? It's a great, intense moment. And there is a part where Morgan is sitting, but I don't think he's holding that gun on Morgan necessarily, or if he is, it's not the same scene. I do have some predictions on that, but I'm going to make a video on that separate. So, but it's clear that, you know, somebody will try to challenge Rick, and he's not going to take it. So I'm very interested to see what's going on there. We also see, you know, various scenes. There's one part where somebody's on fire and they literally fall off of the Alexandria wall. So that's insane. Again, was that an accident? Again, they might have been trying to set fire, blow up something to maybe get rid of some of the walkers, or it may be somebody fired an RPG. We really don't know. But there is a guy that's just on fire that falls off the wall. And then you see another scene where they're either tossing walker bodies off of this cliff, or it's like a rocky embankment. It's either walkers or bodies. So I don't really know what's going on there. But that's the end of the first part. I'm going to post this, and then I'm going to post another video talking about the next part, because kind of like how they did it with Beth, they made it separate. I'm going to make another video basically showing what they showed after the Walking Dead symbol came up. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for part 2. Thank you very much for watching.